All right, today on Rogue Creators, we are talking about 2021 trends, right?
Yeah.
Ready to get into this?
I'm totally ready.
It's gonna be great. Here we go. Lauren, it is 2021.
Yeah, it is.
We are back in the studio.
I'm excited.
I feel like we always say that. We're
back in the studio.
We're back in the studio. We always batch record, and so there are like months in between sometimes that we actually record.
That is true.
So just a little insight. We change outfits to make it look like we record on different days. So
We're professionals.
We're very professionals. Yeah, so this is a lot of fun. I'm excited. We're actually in. Jacob Carpenter is our producer today. Say what's up, Jacob. You can't really switch to that other camera view. If you're not watching right now, there's Jacob. You can see him. We got the second camera kind of out of the studio.
Yeah.
We're trying some new. It's 2020. We're just shaking it up.
It's pretty exciting.
It's very exciting, Lauren. So we are going to be going through the trends of what we kind of see, what the industry's saying is going to be the trends for 2021 when it comes to digital marketing, social media, podcasting, video marketing, specifically. Those are our kind of main topics that we talk about here on the show. And so I'm really excited to jump into those things. And they could be completely wrong. We could talk about them this month and everything changes next month. But it is one of those things that we try to at least do a lot of research on the back end and see for you guys, so that way there some things that are coming up you can be aware of. So I'm excited about several things we're going to talk about. So but before we do that, we missed this the last time we did an In the Know, and several people call us out. They're like, you guys didn't do your what are you obsessed with this week?
Well, have no fear, we're doing it today.
We're doing it. We may never skip again after that. We let you down. So sorry. But yeah, okay. So Lauren, what are you obsessed with this week?
I am obsessed with Cobra Kai season 3. So my husband randomly asked us to start way back when it had been out for quite a while, and he was like, why don't we try it? And I thought it sounded really stupid, and I was like, sure, we'll watch one while we fall asleep. And we got obsessed with it. It's really awesome. It's such a strange show because it rides this weird line of being super cheesy and unbelievable, but you love it, and it also has some deep heart in it. And so I can't tell you why we love it so much, but it's really good.
Are you a Karate Kid fan?
No.
Did you grow up watching those?
No.
Okay.
That's the thing. It's like I've seen pieces of it. I'm aware of it, but they have enough flashbacks that if you are not familiar with it, they include it, and they tie it in really well. Because I never saw the one where he goes to Japan. Yeah. Didn't even know, but they focused on that one in season 3, and I was like, I didn't even know this existed.
Yeah.
But no, it's actually really, really good. We are finishing the finale probably tomorrow, so I'm pretty excited to finish up season 3.
Okay.
So you should totally check out Cobra Kai.
I haven't even started it yet.
It's
on the list.
Like
I'm gonna love it. I know, because there's so much nostalgia, which that's the point of the show. But it's like trending #1 right now on Netflix, which obviously they plug their own shows, but.
Sure.
It is interesting to see that rise up, how it almost didn't come to be. So
I think it's also interesting. It really explores the notion of there are different kinds of bullies, and it really flips that on its head.
Interesting.
I think
Not
it's
just
really
the macho guy, tough guy.
Yeah, they talk a lot about that. I think it's really cool.
Nice.
Check it out.
So this week we're talking some film stuff.
Yeah.
So we went into hardcore quarantine, and so I watched basically a bunch of movies that I've wanted to watch. Citizen Kane was always on that list.
Oh my gosh!
Just as somebody who's I never took any kind of I never took any film review classes or courses. I was very business major in college, and so I didn't do any kind of art stuff. And so everybody I know is like, oh yeah, you got to watch that. But
everybody,
I mean, in the film cinematography world,
if you say your favorite film is Citizen Kane, you are lying.
I'm not gonna say that that's my favorite. I am gonna say
so dull.
It is very dull. It was one of those that I didn't know what to expect. I try to go into stuff not knowing about it. So it was very interesting. But what came out of that, I can see now how a lot of it has shaped so much of film, and just Orson Welles, his whole style of directing and camera angles, and just he took some pretty bold steps back in that day. And so anyway, that took me on the rabbit trail of Orson Welles in general. Like I knew who he was or like of him, but I didn't really know in depth. So now I've watched like I think 4 documentaries. I've watched like 2-hour YouTube like videos about
So
Orson
many
Welles interviews. He's just such an interesting guy,
Yeah.
and he has like this sad but like amazing life, and most of those like artists and creative like
Sure,
people who are
which
crazy intelligent.
I think bleeds through into his movies, which are like these sad artistic movies.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and then the last film that he was never able to finish,
Right.
which was kind of like his last work. He had several that he didn't finish, but like one of the big ones was The Other Side of the Wind,
Right.
which came out. They finished it in 2018. So they got
crazy.
all the footage. Like there was some stuff with Iran, like where he couldn't get footage from there. They had funded some of it. There was it's crazy. So anyway, I watched The Other Side of the Wind. I wouldn't recommend watching it with any children around. It is like 70s, like crazy. There's some nudity. There's some wacky, like psychedelic. Like if you're super high, you're gonna love this movie. I'm not encouraging that, but I'm just saying like it is trippy. But it just it goes back to like the mockumentary too.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that kind of he kind of created that before that was even a thing. And so like The Office and Parks and Rec and some like shows that I hold dear are very mockumentary. Anyway, I don't need to keep going. I'm so sorry.
It's time to wrap it up.
I get going.
What you need to know about
I'm
Orson
so
Welles
sorry.
today.
So I wish to do a whole podcast episode
Yes.
on that. I can just do that. That's cool. All right. So yes, if you're into film, definitely if you haven't seen Citizen Kane, watch that. And then also the other
Yeah, I
side
don't know
of the
how
wind.
you get through being into film and not understanding
That's so
Orson Welles. But
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm late to the game. I'm okay with that.
that's okay.
super exciting to me.
Citizen Kane is so boring.
Yes, I will say. So if you are getting into video marketing and really trying to understand film and like telling a story, I would definitely like jump into that. So there's the resource.
There you go.
I'm bringing it back
Okay.
around. We're making it happen.
That's fair. That's
making
fair.
it happen. Okay. All right. So we're gonna jump in though to 2021 trends, and I don't think
Yeah.
Orson Welles is going to be a 2021 trend.
No,
You never know,
definitely
but
not.
could be. He could be one of those guys. But I'm excited to jump into what we're going to talk about today. So are you kicking it off?
You are.
I am with social shopping.
Yeah, so just a real quick, we're talking about trends that you should watch for in 2021. And we've done a lot of research on that, and we'll provide all the links in the show notes. But we're definitely looking at some predictions. And so we would be really interested also to see what your predictions are and what things that you think are going to take off as well. So make sure you comment and let us know what you think is going to be hopping for 2021.
Yeah, absolutely. And this will obviously the conversation will continue.
Yeah.
So make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you're, especially on YouTube as well. Put your comments down there about what you think, or even resources about what you think is going to be popular in 2021. So.
Yeah, and if there's something that we have not covered that you think is going to be coming up, let us know, and we might be able to do an episode on it.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we still have our social. What's the movie?
Oh, The Social Dilemma.
The Social
review.
Dilemma. We're gonna man. We're kind of putting stuff together for that.
We're
one.
a little behind, but yeah, we'll get
Anyway,
it done.
We're gonna get there. Okay, so social shopping. I'm not gonna lie. I do not like social shopping.
I don't either.
Okay, good. All right, you might like it. Tell us if you like it. We don't like it. It's not. It's just when I come across it in feeds, and the only ones I've seen are things that I'm not interested in. Right. And
Like
so
makeup lines,
like
or-
makeup and jewelry, and like I have several friends on Facebook that like go. I mean, they're like 2 hours in and they're like showing different earrings, and like it's engaging. Like I see people
Sure.
all the time, like women that are like, "Yeah, we'll take the blue ones. I'll take this size. Can I get this?" I mean, it's very interactive. And the people that do it well, I only watched because I was like, "This is intriguing to me. Anything that's new and different is super intriguing to me." So I will say that if there is an influencer who is maybe doing something, it's almost like auctioning in the moment, at least with the live
Sure.
videos. But I know there's a lot of different aspects to the social selling that can be really good.
Well, and I think this kind of goes into brands like using their team and having them be using the product in the office. That's part of also social shopping. It can be on Q&A with some of the creators.
Yep.
This is something was talked about. One of the brands I follow, when I had babies in my house, they did a lot of times of views of their new products in the warehouse. And so they were like pulling them out of the box and kind of showing them. And it was like, it's a warehouse. It wasn't pretty, but it was kind of cool because you felt like you were getting an insider look at some of the new product that was coming. And you see, their staff like surrounded by all the inventory working in it. It was actually really cool the way that they did it. So I think there's a lot of like kind of with the social selling, there's that behind the scenes feel that they feel more connected to the brand and where it's coming from. I think when you see social shopping, you think of MLMs. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about bigger brands actually highlighting people. Even big celebrities on their lines have been going live and selling some of their products and everything, and wanting interaction on that. And that's really cool and very different. I'm not a huge fan of it like you. I don't need to go live. I'd rather do it on my own time and whatever. But it's just something to be aware of. If you're rolling out a product, to think creatively. It's not just buy my product. Really think about how to be intentional and even use influencers within that space. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, and also the integration with Instagram and being able to do shopping on Instagram. I've said this before too, is lowering the barriers for people to do business with you, like completely just try to make it as easy as possible. And so Instagram is doing that pretty well. We're obviously not in the e-commerce space, but I do know if you can direct people back to your website, obviously that's where you want them to be. You can collect an email address and stuff like that. But I mean, if somebody is the ease of use of just buying something straight from Instagram, like that is a real thing. And I've heard even just personal stories of people saying, hey, I would never have purchased this, but because it just kept showing up in my feed, I kept getting more and more interested in it. And then finally I just bought it and it was super easy to buy. And so I think that's a big one that's going to be coming too. And again, my story of even like Amazon making it easy to do returns, Walmart's doing that as well. Like
Amazon is making it so easy.
And even I returned something in Walmart the other day that I went through the phone because I was using Walmart Pay, returned it through that, walked up to the counter, basically gave it to them, and then it refunded them on my phone, and I walked away.
Which is awesome.
It was phenomenal. So it is one of those things I think is going to be very, very interesting coming in 2021. I think a lot of companies are being forced to push this because of the virtual world that we live in. So
absolutely. All right, so I'm going to be talking about UGC, which is user-generated content. This is really popular, and it's being talked about because large brands are really shifting from doing these huge budget productions for these campaigns and switching to talking to their users and using their content, which is really creative. It's a way to get people engaged. It's a way to connect with your communities. It's fantastic, and there's people that are doing it really creatively. So there's a lot of questions about how to do it right. And I think that's the big question for me for 2021 is how can brands do this correctly? Because they've even talked about creating templates and releasing some of the brand assets to your users to be able to make content, which, there's questions on liability and, all that kind of stuff. But I think that's minimal to what's going to happen.
That's that corporate control that I fight against. Like, people are out there already stealing your logo. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's super easy. So you being able to provide them with a high quality one is and with it like using permission, like they're gonna find it anyway. But anyway, I digress.
No, I think it's fine. So an example I found from social media today highlighted Buffalo Wild Wings, which I have not been there in a very long time, is that Buffalo Wild Wings took this theory and ran with it. They created an ad made purely from UGC that showed real people creating made-up sports in their home. This was to reflect the fact that sports fans could no longer gather and watch their favorite teams in public places. The ad actually went from conception to completion in less than a week, which, by the way, is crazy time, and allowed customers to stay connected with the brand virtually when they were unable to in person. And so it's a really creative way. They shared all these, there's kids like doing this weird golfing.
I remember that,
It was really cool, and it was a way for them to connect with their customers. It makes their brand feel human. And it's just a really cool, and I guarantee you that ad did super well.
I remember it,
Yeah, and the fact that it took them a week.
That's insane.
Which you can't do that with a regular campaign.
Yeah, I don't know. But did it actually say that they reached out to people to get these, or did they find these videos and then push?
Well, I don't know that. Okay. I didn't do that much research. Okay, we can look into that. But it's. I'm assuming that when it says creating made up sports in their home, I'm assuming that they put a push out for it.
Which is really cool. I mean, that's something for me personally, like as a production person, like I'm sure that ad cost just so much less than a normal
Oh,
production ad
absolutely.
that they would have to do that you don't connect with when it's like the typical like following the waitress to the table and it's some brochkis like doing like hanging out like, oh, I'll get some beer and some wings, and like I don't connect with that.
Love that impression.
Thank you. I was really trying with that. But I mean, this obviously has some, like you said, a human feel to it. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Right.
Because obviously it's going to be a win for the customer, a win for the people who are trying to produce it, and also the company who is probably struggling, like to be able to actually have an ad doesn't cost as much.
Right.
But I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, and I think now I saw it was a Facebook ad and it was clearly produced. It was not UGC, but their ads when you look at them are generally highly successful because they rarely ever show a phone or anything like that until the very end of the thing, the commercial, and it's all focused on life, being in the life and everything like that. And then at the very end, you see someone like push a button to post to Facebook, and you're like, oh, it's a Facebook ad. You didn't even know. And I think that's part of like UGC is that it's capturing like in the life using the product or at the store or whatever, and that's really hard, particularly in pandemic times. And I think that's why UGC is a great way to be creative about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're all about here, road creators. People doing cool stuff.
Really cool stuff.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so it's for 2021, again, it's the question of how to do this right. And so I think that's what we're going to be seeing. So thinking about if you are a brand and thinking about how can you add that into your social calendar? How can we maybe once a month start trying to do a UGC campaign? And you could do it around a holiday. You could do it around a particular event or promotion that you're running and everything, but try it out and see how it goes for you.
Absolutely. And even reaching out to people, current clients, customers, whatever it is, saying, hey, snap a photo of this if you don't mind, or a video of you guys. We did that. Actually, one of my favorite videos now is Robbie from Shopanova.
Yes.
Yeah. So we sent some Onyx coffee, and like he filmed this whole thing of them opening it up and talking about it, which was really cool. And so it was one of those things that I think was pretty awesome to be able to kind of repost some of that stuff too. So, but anyway, all right, we are going to jump into increase in voice and visual search.
Whoa.
Yes.
Unpack that for us.
If you guys have listened to, or watched the show before, you know that I'm a big fan of like voice search and obviously Gary Vee, who somebody I appreciate his insights, maybe not everything he does, but I appreciate his insights on kind of like futuristic thinking and what's coming down the line. Voice search is definitely that. I mean, it's already happening. It's here. Like my kids are already doing it. They're already talking about Alexa and like she's a person in our home and she tells us all the answers. And so when it comes to actual like audio SEO though, that's going to be a big one that's going to be coming out. And so being able to specifically do that in your podcasts, as well as image search. So we talked about even before we were getting on the recording, Jacob's rocking some awesome Doc Martens, which he doesn't know, but I rocked those same Doc Martens back in 1998. I don't know what happened to those. Anyway, we'll have to find them. But if I wanted to, relive my glory days in 1997 and take a photo of, I'm like, hey, I want those shoes. That search capability is out there, right? And so if you are a brand who specifically sells products, you need to be very, very aware of that and make sure that your images are tagged correctly. Everything is tagged. Like this is where the world is moving in that search results. And so it's not just about having the correct copy on your website anymore.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, you're going to need to make sure that you're really fine tuning your SEO. I'm excited for the image search, particularly. I'm not audio me, but we have a complicated relationship.
She's a podcaster that doesn't like podcasts.
But I'm excited. I mean, even Amazon pulling out, for a lot of products now, you can just click a button and say, see it in your room, and you can put it in your room, and you feel like I know a lot of eyeglass things now. You can try on the pair of glasses stuff, and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things that are coming, and it just preparing your brand for what's coming next rather than catching up on the back end when it's going to cause you a lot of work.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, I always like that your competitor's already doing this.
Yep,
like,
absolutely.
Keep that in your mind, that you want to obviously beat them to market, and so it's a big deal. But yeah, I think, again, specifically the voice search, but then also YouTube as well. When I'm searching for something on YouTube, we have not done this with our videos, but it's something that is in the works for 2021. But being able to break it apart in specific.
I love that.
Yeah, I do
so
too.
Handy.
It's super handy. I don't have to watch a 10-minute video. I can see exactly where the information that I need is, and it's broken down in the video itself. And so that's part of the production of the video. So if you are offering tips and tricks, resources, all of that, make sure that you're separating out your video on YouTube to where it highlights that specific resource. So
I did that today on a Photoshop question.
Oh,
Yeah, it was great. It
nice.
found it right where I needed it. It came out of the top result. It was like
Yeah.
start at 321. I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Get out ahead of this because that's going to be a big, big thing, especially for 2021. So
Yeah, absolutely. So the next thing, which we love talking about, and we joke that I don't like podcasting, but I am all about being your biggest cheerleader for your podcast, that podcast advertising is actually up. And so a lot of people are now beginning to see what people have been saying for a couple years. Podcasts are a big deal. They're not going anywhere. There's more coming out. And that you can actually monetize your podcast. Now you have to do it right.
yeah,
You can't just be crazy about it. But there's a lot of companies that are monetizing their podcast by doing advertising, and people are a lot more interested in this space. And so if you have not explored this on possibly getting your brand's advertisement on a podcast, or if you already have a podcast using commercials, you totally should.
Yep.
It's not difficult.
No, yeah.
And I think it's a great way to do it. We've definitely, my husband and I, we definitely have actually tried products out that we listen to in a podcast advertisement. I know it can be easy to skip the advertisements, but there's a ways around it, and you still listen to it. Like when I'm doing the dishes, I don't stop to
Yeah,
skip
so
the commercial.
yeah.
I still hear about HelloFresh. So
Or Squarespace, a great website.
or
Use-
Casper mattress.
Oh, good grief. So I
But
mean,
they're in my mind.
the joke is, I mean, yeah, they have advertised so much on podcasts,
Right.
and there's nothing wrong. I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with that. I think if you have a podcast, you should definitely be monetizing that, and that's something that we're actually currently working with several of our clients.
Yeah.
Is like how to do it well, to make sure that are you going to do the voice read for it? Are you going to make sure that people know, hey, this is an advertisement, that it's not just a personal endorsement, like you are being paid to talk about that. There's a lot of ways to do it, to make sure to do it well. One thing I've always appreciated is Gimlet Media. They have done crazy cool ads where before it was like, I'm trying to think if it was Squarespace, where it was like they would call one of the guys at that Squarespace office and be able to actually talk to them. It's like interviewing people at the company. It wasn't talking about, hey, you should get a website. It was just literally like, let's call somebody at Squarespace and talk to them, which was such a different way of doing an advertisement. But you hear all of a sudden behind the scenes, all of a sudden it makes their company more human as well. And so there's just a lot of really cool things that you can do with it. But also, you've got an audience that you should be providing more resources to. It's mutually beneficial. I think I always err on the side of like, well, I don't necessarily want to like advertise to our
Sure.
audience in general. But if it's a great resource for you, you absolutely should. Advertise your products first. So if you're a business selling something, you should definitely be running ads for yourself. But also bring in a sponsor. Sponsors are looking, and it's going to be it's a bigger thing. Again, we've had more conversations around this in Q4 of 2020 about going into actual podcast sponsorships, and it's a great way to leverage the cost of producing a show itself too. So
Yeah. All right, Brian, you're very excited about this one.
oh, here we go.
Tell us about Clubhouse.
Oh goodness,
I'm
that sounded super creepy.
because it kind of has a creepy name.
So it was funny. We were in the office. I was asking Charlotte.
That's
with
for you, Daniel
Soapbox.
Stafford.
Yeah. I ask if you guys need to check out Shop Nova's podcast and just the intro of it. It's fantastic, by the way.
E-commerce growth
The
show.
e-commerce growth show. It is fantastic. Love those dudes. So yeah, we're sitting in the office and Charlotte is across the way eating her food, and I was like, "Hey, are you on Clubhouse?" Because I'm trying to get an invite into Clubhouse. I think this is not going to age well, by the way. I'm glad we're doing this in January. For the record, Lauren keeps coughing. She's had a cough for like 6 months
I have
now.
strep. I don't have COVID. If it
Oh
makes you
goodness,
feel better.
she's not contagious though. We've already tested her. She's fine. She's good. Sorry to everyone. If you heard a cough out there, like these people are so irresponsible.
Tell us about Clubhouse.
We're negative. Everybody's negative. Yeah. So Clubhouse. So it's crazy because I asked Charlotte. I'm like, hey, do you have it? And she's like, yeah, I've got Clubhouse. I was like, cool. And I was like, can I get an invite? And she's like, I guess. She's talking about like her workout app.
Yeah.
She was like, I guess you can come work out with me. It was hilarious in the moment. But Clubhouse is basically a voice only, an audio only social media platform to where you can jump into multiple conversations. You can kind of hear conversations happening back and forth in your industry, but also friends. So if you have a group of friends, you could just kind of stay on kind of a group chat and call and stuff. And so it's actually really cool. Again,
Sounds like my nightmare.
Lauren is twitching over here. Myself, I have not been able to get an invite.
Me either. I did request.
Yeah. So when I get one, if you guys want, I did get a new phone number, so now my contacts are even more limited. But I will send you an invite. But yeah, the only way to get in is if somebody's already in your phone contacts.
Which I think is cool.
Get
invited
absolutely.
into the Clubhouse. It's got, I see it.
Oh yeah, I get
Are you
that.
serious?
I mean, I'm making those connections now. I'm making the connections.
Okay.
But in general, I mean, there's just some really cool things about it that, again, it could completely fade out. Like some of the experts are kind of saying, hey, this will peak and then it will drop off.
And I said that about TikTok too.
That is true.
It is still around,
Blowing up.
much to my dismay.
Blowing up. But this is a way to, and I've seen other podcasters use this in the way of like having somewhat of a group of people who have access to your show. And so it is one of those things of being able to actually set it up to where you can have your own group of people, right? And it's like, hey, have limited access. Hey, we're going to be jumping on Clubhouse today at 7:00. Jump on with us and we'll have a conversation around whatever. And
Sounds so weird.
but it's just another way of connection. I like that.
Yeah.
That it's not made up. It's not just a fake thing. Like you can actually hear somebody's voice in real time too. So anyway, yeah, some interesting things. Tell me all your thoughts about it, Lauren.
It's just, it's weird and different, but I think it's hitting at a point which we always want to talk about is what is someone not doing? What problem is not being solved? And so I think with the audio, that is one piece of it. And I think Twitter's kind of tried to play around with the audio piece of it. And it kind of fell flat, but I think an app that's like, hey, this is what it is. And the exclusivity to it, I think is really intriguing.
Yeah.
So I think it's one to watch. I don't know if it will be around for forever, but we'll see. It could be something that becomes really cool.
Well, and it could be something that, an Instagram or Facebook or, Snapchat or somebody adopts as well to where it's like, okay, now we see when we talked about last year about like messenger rooms, like having rooms with your friends, but it's that video side. And people always feel like, even with me, I'm like, hey, I want to do that. But then I don't because I'm like, well, we're not in the setup, and I'm not. I feel like I want lighting to be good. I want it to sound good, and so then you don't do it. But with this, it's kind of like, yeah, we can do a voice chat, voice group together, and so it's very interesting. So you have a good quote here I want to read from Social Media Examiner. Shout out to Social Media Examiner 2020. Most of all, Clubhouse is finally bringing into social media the factor other platforms largely ignored, which is audio. While other platforms focus on visual and written media, such as captions, images, and videos, Clubhouse shifts the focus to an audio-only format. And again, I think your podcast lovers, your people who are like myself, I love audio, and so I think that's why we're kind of jumping on this train. Again, I just want an invite. I want to be in the club.
Maybe somebody will invite you.
Maybe. Hey, give me I'm going to tell you something. If you're on Clubhouse, you send me an invite, you get a free t-shirt.
Oh my gosh.
We're just going to ship. We're giving out t-shirts, man. Everybody get a t-shirt.
Everybody.
If you want 2 of them, we'll depend on it. I don't know.
Gosh.
We'll figure out something. It's just one of those things that like when Gmail came out, I was dying for an invite for Gmail. I hated Hotmail. That ages me.
Ages you so much.
You need to calm down. I was around in Juno days. That was my first email client. Yeah, people don't even know what that is.
All right, we're moving on.
Dang it. All right.
So check out Clubhouse. See if you can get an invite. Send an invite to Brian if you're already on, because he's excited.
I do have a new phone number. 2021 is coming up. All Brian. That's for my Office fans out there.
All right. So last but not least, this one's not as sexy as Clubhouse, but We are really encouraging brands, and this is going to be ever critical in 2021, to understand your social media policies and put them in place, particularly of how to respond in a crisis. So no longer is it okay for, if you're a large brand and there's something going on, particularly like, for instance, like the pandemic, or if there's something going on, a possible tragedy or something like that, it's not okay for you to stay silent. It's important that your brand has procedures in place on what you respond to and how you do it.
Yeah.
It's totally okay. We're not saying that you should have, side with some political party or
No,
anything like that.
absolutely
But it being a human behind the brand, responding correctly. And a lot of times when events like this obviously happen, they're unexpected, and it causes brands to scramble, and they sometimes don't do a very good response that causes them to actually be in more hot water. But if you actually have procedures in place, is this how we respond? This is how we react to tragedies. These are the things that we post, or simply we will not post these kind of things when this tragedy is occurring until 24 hours afterwards or whatever. This will really help your brand just maintain that integrity as well as just that human connection. And it's going to be important. I think a lot of brands before didn't think this was important, and now it's actually critical. People want to know that you care about what's going on in the world. They want to know that you're a responsible consumer. And so they're really looking to brands to have a higher level of accountability.
Yeah. And I think, first off, you're not going to do it right. You're not going to please everybody. And I think if you go in with that mentality, don't alienate people, obviously. But,
right.
But it is one of those things that, like, you just kind of have to be aware. I'm a people pleaser, so I want everybody to be okay. And that's just, I think in times like these, 2020 has brought that out of everybody, that you just, that it's okay for us to have different opinions about things, right? And so as a brand, you try to take that more neutral approach, but also make a statement, especially because, again, people want to know what your opinion. I mean, we've been asked like multiple times, like, stances on different things. And some of our clients as well. Like, we manage some social media accounts, and so it's how do we do that well and have the core values of the brand as well. And try to really coach through that, because it is very, very important. And I think it's, like you said, it's going to be even more important going forward. So
have those procedures in place and make sure that your staff understand why you react the way that you do, so they can communicate it as well.
Yep. We're ending on a serious note.
But your social media has power, and it's important. And that's one of the reasons why we talk about creating awesome content, because we want to connect with our audiences, but we don't want to connect for just marketing purposes alone.
Yep, absolutely. So that was cool. That was
Yeah.
good. That was a good wrap up. That was
Thanks.
nice. I was wondering how you're gonna salvage my last.
Yeah, it was rough. But
I wanted to give a shout out. We were on Randy Wilburn's podcast, so he has some awesome shirts. I don't know if you guys see it up there. Anyway, but it says get 1% better every day.
Yeah.
And I love it. I Am Northwest Arkansas is a great podcast. Randy is a great host. We were able to be on his show. He was on our show. Make sure you guys check out his episode as well.
His episode, which will be coming out in a couple weeks.
Yes. I thought this one was coming out after that one. See, this is how we batch record on all the things. So it isn't. Again, he was featured. Actually, I think NWA Today or Good Morning NWA. There's been several people that have sponsored him, and he deserves all that. He's a great guy, and really highlighting what's happening here in Northwest Arkansas. And so, I woke up this morning, I got on the show, I was like, man, I need to make sure to wear that for the podcast.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, big shout out to Randy. Make sure you guys go check him out. Other than that, make sure you guys subscribe. Get in our email list as well. We got some resources there. So hit up the website, gorogex.com. /podcast. There's all kinds of resources there that you guys can see. Everything we've talked about will be linked there. Lauren and her awesome team are putting all that together. Welcome, Jacob, behind the camera. Thanks so much producing it up today. We appreciate Jacob. And until next time, we'll see you later. Thanks. Are you ready for rapid fire?
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
These questions coming direct from our content coordinator,
Oh,
Miss Ava.
Miss Ava. Here we go.
All right. How many times? This is a
Oh goodness, I'm already nervous.
no. It's like when one of our guests were super nervous, and then we were like, "What's your favorite cake?" How many times do you hit the snooze button?
Oh goodness, this morning it was like 7 times.
Oh, gosh.
It was so many.
That's terrible.
It is terrible. And then it felt like it just kept popping back up again.
Mm.
And by that time, I'm awake, but it's almost out of spite. But I'm just like, no, I'm not going to get up. And then I just lay there awake. I'm like, all right, I might as well get up.
Wow.
Sorry, I have feelings.
You have feelings? That's good.
What about you?
If one, that's pretty. I normally
That doesn't surprise me.
roll right out. Well, also my husband gets really mad if it buzzes. Right now it's bird sounds, which is really annoying, and so it's like all of a sudden you have birds erupting out of all these things. And my iPad is connected to, and I need to turn it off. So you have birds coming from 2 locations in our room,
Like
and
surround sound, but like birds are in your room.
yeah, it sounds horrible. So it's kind of also I don't want to hear that sound again.
That is hard. Like don't pick a sound that you like for your
No.
alarm, because then you'll grow to hate it.
Yeah.
Alex is with she wears her Apple Watch to bed, and then
Oh.
like it buzzes. That wakes me up. It's like
Oh, yeah.
and I'm like, oh my gosh, turn off your, like, she doesn't wake up for anything. I wake up for everything. So
Okay,
all right.
there we go. Okay, when it comes to music,
Oh gosh,
are you more about that beat or the lyrics?
bro, drop that fat beat.
Ah.
Oh, I know. Me and Devin in the back on Sunday mornings at church. I'm like, I'm all about that fat beat. Here it comes on the bumper. And I love it.
That's
It sounds
hilarious. We have a really cool church for those.
yeah, I push the envelope a little bit sometimes with our music choices.
I
And
want to
bumper.
startle people. When
I do like to wake them up a little bit. Hey, you know what? About to drop some knowledge on you from the Bible. Here it is, coming at you with a fat bass line. You about lyrics?
No, I'm about the beat.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what's
I mean, I
up.
think lyrics are super important, but a lot of times it's after I really love the beat that I'm actually like acknowledging the
Okay.
lyrics, which is kind of sometimes sad because sometimes I've had a few songs that I'm like, oh no, that's what it's
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, we did that with Thunderstruck with our kids. I was like, "Yeah, here's Thunderstruck. That's awesome." And then I was like, "I've never listened to the lyrics." And then I
Yeah.
looked up the lyrics. I was like, "Oh, this is terrible. What are we doing? Forgive me, Lord."
Oh my goodness. I'm going to church today.
For real. Oh, that was good.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, Ava, that's good.
She did
That's good. All right, we're out.